everybody, and welcome to Fusion 360 tutorial. So what we're going to do is we're going to be going over one of the most popular CAD packages, Fusion 360. It is made by Autodesk, and it's one of the few and most recognized CAD softwares that are out there right now. So, first of all, hello, my name is Megan. I'm going to be hosting this panel. I am a plastics engineer at Boeing, at the Boeing company. I've worked in the auto industry before that for about 5 years doing plastics design and specializing in decorative plastics. If you guys haven't already seen it, make sure that you go to the 3D Printing 101 panel. I also hosted that. And this is kind of like a continuation on it because most of the time you're not going to find the CAD files that you want. Or you want to make an STL for your 3D print. Well, this is how you do it. You have to sit there and you have to draw it yourself. As well as if you want to make parts for your costume and things like that. So this is what we're going for. We're trying to learn the basics, understand what Fusion 360 is, and what's really important about 3D design is actually understanding the steps of how to go about it, because similar to coding and similar to a bunch of other engineering-esque tasks, one of the big things is there is a million ways to do something. There is like you can form a circle by 4 different ways and none of them are wrong. So this is kind of showing you some of the basic tutorial things, the basic functions like making a hole, extruding, bringing in a canvas, and stuff like that. So you kind of have a better understanding of Fusion 360, and you feel comfortable and you are ready to go with those more complex things once you get the basics done. So let's get started. First of all, Fusion 360 is offered by Autodesk. It is a kind of a combination of their AutoCAD, Maya a little bit, and their Inventor software. I think I said Inventor, but those 3 things kind of combined in order to make this more user-friendly CAD system. What's a CAD system? Computer-aided design. And so what this tool does, it allows you to do surfacing, it allows you to create solid shapes, it also allows you to make 2D shapes. And this is good for a multitude of different things. You don't have to use it just for 3D printing. You can use it for prop design. I've seen a lot of people do a lot of their tracing and their line outlines in Fusion 360, just because it was a little bit easier for them to do. There's just a whole bunch of things that you can do. You can even sculpt in here. So, we're just gonna kind of, go off of that and let's get started. So the first thing you need to do is download Fusion 360. Fusion 360 is free on their website if you get the student edition or the maker's edition. If you cannot get either of those, so say you're a business or say you're using it for business things, I do recommend actually buying it. It's a really low cost CAD software. It's only like $300 or something like that. Compared to normal CAD systems that are out there right now, honestly, this is the most affordable one that you will be able to find. And it actually brings in a lot of things of like other CAD packages, so like CATIA and SolidWorks and NX, and it kind of mushes them all together into a much more easier, understandable software. One of the things I really like about this software is that it has hotkeys. And I'm sure in other CAD softwares you can set up hotkeys, but this one just comes with them, which is awesome. So Once again, just all you have to do is download it. It downloads a library of materials and some extra files, so make sure that you have enough room on your computer, and also make sure that your computer can handle it. I do know that like tablets and stuff like that kind of struggle with Fusion 360, but what's really cool is that they're offering a lot of online cloud-based storages, so you don't have to depend on having a large storage in your actual computer. So if you do have a Surface or something like that, you don't have to worry about it taking up too much room. Another thing that I do want to bring up is you do need to make an Autodesk account. So it's a very simple process. You just, username, password. You do have to do a dual authentication, so just make sure that you have your phone with you. And why this is so important. So your Autodesk signature or your Autodesk account actually links to all of your CAD designs. And so when you make your CAD design, it saves to the cloud. And in the cloud, it means that you can access your CAD design from anywhere in the world. So say I decided that I was going to work on my personal computer and I wanted to go work on my friend's computer that's halfway across the country, and I didn't have my CAD file with me. Simple. I just log on to my Autodesk account and I, can just go into this corner. It's right here. And it'll have all of my parts. So like if we look at Bayonetta, it will have all of these parts in there. And I can just click it and it'll just upload. So honestly, it is probably one of the nicest systems just because you can access your files from anywhere. Let's see. Let's just kind of go over the basics. So when you do open up Fusion 360, you will notice that my screen is a little bit more blank. Or it's darker. You're able to change the colors. You just have to go up to File, and you can go to your settings, and you can kind of play around with your settings, or maybe it's, I don't know. You kind of just have to go and explore. So that's kind of, the main difference between mine and yours. Right up here, you'll see that there is your main navigation bar, your main toolbar. So, if you hover over one of the icons, so like this create a sketch, it'll give you a little bit more of a detailed description, and unfortunately, because of how I'm recording it on OBS, you can't see some things that I'm going to be doing. But I'm going to try my best to explain it to you so you have a good understanding of what it actually would look like. But I'm really sorry, for some reason it doesn't capture those windows. Over here on the side, even though you can't see it, I can, it's called your design tree. And your design tree keeps locations of your orientation, as well as it will keep a running dialogue of where your sketches are, and kind of what's visible and what's not visible. And you'll just kind of you can expand and hide the tree. So sometimes it's really useful and sometimes it's not very useful at all. Another thing about kind of the same idea, so there's a tree right here on the side, but there's also a tree, or it's almost like a play-by-play steps of what you did down here at the bottom. It's a really neat thing that I've never seen any other CAD software do before. But it's a lot easier to go in and say, well, like that extrude, I really didn't like that, so I'm going to edit it. So that's kind of the one thing that I really do suggest is, make use of your tree, as well as your kind of play-by-play, probably has a real name, but I don't know what it is, down here. Other than that, let's get started. So one of the first things that I really like to do is I like to bring in what I'm going to be working on. like a picture of what I'm going to be working on. The major thing about this is that I want to kind of measure ahead of time what the size of my part is going to be. So, there are softwares actually out on the internet right now that you can make, so what it does is it kind of scales the dimensions of like your character. So, okay. So you have a picture and you have a character that is this big, but the sword right here is like this big, and you don't know proportionally like how big to make it to fit your proportions. Um, so what it does is you draw a measurement from top to bottom, and you say you claim a size. But generally what you do is you claim a size that's like your height or something if you're making the prop for yourself. So say I'm 5'4", so say it's 5'4". I want to make sure that my prop is at least 2 feet long, or maybe 3 possibly. And the reason why we do this is specifically because we want our props to kind of be in dimension beforehand. Although you can scale your model in the 3D printing process, or even when you're just looking at the CAD process, you can scale your model, but unfortunately it kind of gets a little bit complicated. Um, it's good. You can still do it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, sometimes it's a little bit nicer if you need to make CAD adjustments. Because if you scale your part, sometimes it doesn't necessarily transfer into the scaling of the part. That probably didn't make a ton of sense, but fingers crossed. Okay. So, what you're going to do is you're going to go to this Insert tab, and it's going to have a drop-down menu. Unfortunately, you can't see mine. And you're going to go to the selected option of Canvas. Once you are in there, it will give you a dialog box that you can choose from your computer, or if you have it in like some other location that's on the Google Cloud, or the cloud of it, you can also do that. But normally you're just going to pull from your computer, an image from your computer. Once you've selected that image, you're going to have to select what plane you want to do it. It's kind of up to personal preference on this. A lot of times people will make them off of the horizon, so this is technically the horizon, so the XY scale or grid. I mean, for what we're making, it doesn't really matter. But if you are making something, it's always good to kind of have it proportioned to, or on the right axis, or plane. But we're gonna pick this one, which is the XY, or the XZ axis. And when I say, or the XZ plane, sorry. So when I mention that, you can see your planes over here. This is your navigation, like, cube, I guess, for the lack of better words. It will give you your front, top, right, back, bottom features that you can just click, and you can click anywhere on these sides, and it will automatically rotate to that. And you can also see that's the Z-axis, that's the X-axis, and that's the Y-axis. When this comes in handy is when you have to do revolves. That becomes like a really big thing. So, I choose this, and I decide that I want my part to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to change the scale of my part, and you can put in your own dimensions. So say I want this to be 24 inches, and the Y, I want that to be 24 inches. What did I do? Oh, I messed up. Okay, sorry. 0, 0. Bottom. Okay, so right down here, you'll also see some, like, there's orbit, look, pan, zoom, and fit. So you can hit fit, and it will zoom into your picture that you have selected. So we're going to be working on a Keyblade. This is probably one of the bread and butter of all cosplays. It is probably one of the simplest things that we can be doing right now, but it shows a lot of things that I really want to like kind of reiterate. So, how to think about this? Actually, one sec. Let me make sure I brought in my canvas correctly, because it looks warpy. Yeah. Okay, wait. I'm sorry. So you can move it around like this. You can grow the part. So I want it to be about this size. And if you want, you can inspect. So you go to the inspect button, you click here, and it'll give you a dimension. So this is how big my canvas is. We actually do not need the first one that we brought in because that was a screw up. Inside the canvas option, you can change. Unfortunately, you can't see it. I'm really sorry you can't see that window. But one of the things that you can do is you can change the opacity. So right now it's kind of, you can kind of see through it. I do that intentionally just because it's a lot easier to see, like, when I'm drawing things. But if you want it really dark so it's just a little bit easier to see, that's up to you. Just, you just change the setting. It's a little slide bar. Okay. So now that we have our canvas, one of the main things that you want to do in 3D design is you really want to focus on the main shape of the part. So if you think about this, the main shape of the part is you have this rod that goes all the way down, and there's another rod, and you can kind of see that this can all be done in one drawing. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because it is all a revolve function. So what's a revolve function? Simple. So what it does, it's this function right here. It takes a flat 2D drawing and it revolves it around an axis. By revolving it around an axis, it makes a round part. It doesn't necessarily have to be a round part. So that's the big thing. You can choose if you want it to be 180 degrees, or you can say maybe you want it to be, 360, or maybe you only want it to be 90. I've had it sometimes where you're like, I only want like 2 degrees of it. So just, kind of think of it like that. Okay, so we are going to go from here. I don't like this. Okay. Yeah, it's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the line function. I'm going to press the line, and then I am going to find the center of the part. A lot of times what you'll see with Autodesk is that it's actually pretty smart. So it can kind of recognize that there is an edge here in the drawing because of the color shifts, and so you'll see that it kind of snaps to that area. You don't always have to use the snap. You can actually turn it off. A lot of people do turn it off when it's not being super accurate. You can turn on and off your sketch grid. So, I can turn this off. It actually helps sometimes. But you know, choose what works best for you. You can show profiles, you don't need to. You can pick points. And there's a thing that's over here, unfortunately you can't see it. There's a sketch palette that says construction, look at, and it's just kind of a helpful checklist of like things that you can turn on and off. You can change like lines into sketches and things like that. So, one of the other things that you need to recognize in Fusion 360, and you actually go up to your personal preferences, is how you want your mouse settings to be. A lot of people don't like it where your middle button is kind of your main go-to for most things. I actually prefer it. I like my middle button being useful. I don't particularly like to rotate using my right butt or my left clicker button. So there is Control and Alt and Shift that all are part, but right now my middle button rotates. As you can see, I can rotate it with that. If I want to pan, I hold down Shift and move my button. If I want to zoom in and out, I can either scroll or I can use my Shift button and use my middle button to kind of move in and out. So as you can see, like I kind of lost my part and I'm like, oh shit, I don't know where it is. There's something called Fit, and Fit will automatically kind of readjust your screen to best fit the object. So make sure everything's lined up and we're going to start sketching. You're going to click the line button. You're going to find the center of this part or what you think is the center of this part, and you are going to drag it right down the middle to about the end. Then you're going to make sure it's a 90-degree angle, and you're going to go off to this area. And then you're going to go like this. And remember, we're literally just trying to get the rough shape of this part. So I'm done making lines right now. I need to make an arc. So I'm going to press the OK button, or you can press Enter, or you can press Escape. All of it will do the same thing. If I want to make another line, I can right click and move upwards and it will repeat that line action. If I want to move, cancel, delete, just right click and there's kind of like a wheel that pops up that you can do. So I want to make an arc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this create button. Unfortunately, you can't see it. I'm going to go down to the arc function and I'm going to go to a 3-point arc. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to click right here, and then I'm going to decide that I want my arc to kind of go like this. I'm going to make one more. It's not exact, but honestly, I kind of like it. The next thing that you may want to do, so if you want these arcs to actually look the same, one of my suggestions is you press the D button. The D button has a function called the sketch dimensioning. Sketch dimensioning actually makes it a lot easier for you to scale your part. Or if you are just not happy with how far something is, it helps you kind of keep distances in mind when you're doing it. If you're doing technical drawings, you have to do it, and it gets really annoying. So it's 0.8 inches, 0.87. So I just want to make it a round number. And then I want this one to be the same. And you can just type those numbers in. Okay, so the hotkey for line is L. So I'm done doing dimensioning. I want to make lines now. So I just press L on my keyboard and I continue my sketching. I think I messed up. Okay. So say you messed up. And say you're like, I don't like what that did. This actually ends up being an arc. That's why I ended up screwing it up. So what you do is you click the line, delete. Very simple. So say you don't like this point. It's kind of jutting in a little bit. It's not kind of it's not tangent. It just doesn't look very good. You can either click the tangent button and it will automatically adjust your line to be tangent with the actual circle. And tangent just means like it's in line. So when it joins the circle, it's kind of in line with the circle. Or what I could have done is I could have used the snip function. So say I don't like this. I'm like, I would like to put an angle here. So I'm going to draw a line that doesn't really do anything. I'm going to press the T button, or you can click up here and click the trim button. You can trim everything that you don't want. And you can make corners that way. Then you just press escape and you're done. Say you're like, that was a huge mistake. I didn't like that. You can actually just Control Z, bring it all back, and it all disappears. Okay. So let's finish this sketch. And, you know, some of this is just a little bit of guessing. I mean, look how blurry this picture is. I mean, there's not a lot of accuracy sometimes when you're doing this, especially if you don't have a very good picture. So, you know, try to get the highest resolution that you possibly can because it's going to help you in the long run. So what I'm doing is kind of ignoring this chunk because I'm going to do it on a separate layer. And I'm going to show you why I'm going to do it on a separate layer. Once we're done with this main sketch. Okay, I'm gonna press line, keep going. We are almost there. I messed that up, but I'll show you what to do after. Okay. We are almost done. Oh, double click zooms all the way out, FYI. Like double click of the center button, zooms all the way out. Yay! So how you know that this is a solid part is it will kind of have like a blue glow to it, or at least mine's a kind of a blue glow, as you can see, and it shows that that 2D sketch is completely solid, that it is one connected loop. So I kind of mentioned that I kind of messed up, but what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the push-pull function. You can either press push-pull, or what you can do is you can take this part, and I want this line, and I can move it. Unfortunately, it moves all of my lines with this one. So I'm going to undo that, and I want to move this whole line inwards. Okay, and it gives it just an ever so slightly different look. You can put tolerancing on this. You can put your like geometric constraints, and what constraints are just, you know, I want this line and this line to be parallel. Well, I have to define that, and it helps keep everything kind of in order. And so if you need to move things around, um, you can. Oh no, something happened. That was weird. There we go. Okay, so we are done with that. Awesome. So finish sketch, and you'll see your sketch on the main kind of board, I guess is the best way to say it. What you're going to do is you can actually see your sketch. You can kind of highlight it and it will just kind of pop up as a black solid. You're going to hit that revolve button and it's going to pop up with a small little dialog box. Unfortunately, you can't see it. So you're going to pick the profile. If you have multiple profiles, it won't necessarily pick it for you, but because I only have one, it kind of understands that that's the profile that I want to revolve. Then it makes me choose an axis. I can choose an axis either from the drawing that I just made, or say I wanted to use one of the original origin axes. I can. So don't worry if you didn't do it. If you want an axis that is different than all of these, you can actually go into construct and you can make your own axis go through whatever point that you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this center button. I want it to go 360. You can kind of see it. It previewed my image. And I also want it to be a new body. So in the operations tab, just make sure that it says new body. Press OK. And as you can see, we finished like the main part of this. How cool is that? Like, aha! Okay. So you heard that very unattractive noise that I made. So now it's time to move on. So because of the way that we extruded it, you can kind of see, or we revolved it, you can kind of see that right down the center is our plane. You can kind of see a little bit better like this. It goes right down the center. Why does this matter? Well, that matters because I want to make these parts go through this part and join into one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another sketch. I'm going to go onto that middle surface again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace this. And I will show you guys a really neat function. Actually, I can't. There's not a really good use of it, but I'll explain what it is. So while I'm tracing this, I want to make sure that I go far enough into the part that it still looks like it's part. So like if I start like right here on the edge, remember this is a rounded part. So I still want it to go the full depth of that part. That's kind of the most important part. So you're gonna want to start a little bit further back. And you're just gonna follow. I'm going to show you guys a real cool function that I learned, and it makes your life so much easier. So I'm going to use the circle function. I kind of click the middle and make a circle like that. I'm going to use a line once again, and then I'm going to go down like this. So I want this to be perpendicular. That's not going to work. So I want this to be a construction line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click it, and I'm going to click construction line on this sketch palette. You can see that construction lines actually look like they're dotted lines. So they're a little bit different. Then I'm going to trim, oops. Sorry. Then I'm going to trim right here. So I'm going to press the T button. I'm going to trim that off. And then I need to make one more line. Bam. Awesome. So you can see that I only drew half of it. So why? very simple. What we're going to do is we're going to mirror. So the mirror function is either up here, or you can go into your create toolbar and it's also there. You're going to click that and you're going to select everything that you want to mirror. And mine comes up as slightly darker blue. Then you have to choose the mirroring line, which is similar to your axis. So I'm going to click that and it's automatically going to mirror it to the other side, so I don't have to trace it. I'm going to finish the sketch because when I mirrored it, it also connected it and made it one solid loop. So I'm going to finish it. Finally, the very famous extrude button. Extrude has a lot of functions. It pretty much just makes your part larger for the most part, but what it also does is it can extrude from two different sides. You can do it unevenly. You can cut through parts with the extrude button. You can make new parts. So if I wanted to make a new body that wasn't connected to this one, I could. And where that comes into hand, like real handy, is if you want to say you want to make this a separate part, but you also want to cut away into this one, you can do that through the extrude button. I'm not going to show that to you today because I'm running out of time. So I'm just going to show you the simple extrude, and I'm going to do a two-sided symmetrical extrude. So as you can see that there's two arrows. Sorry, there's like a little like bar that's over here. And you can drag. So say you can kind of go to the side and look at it. And you're like, okay, that looks good. So you can kind of drag. So when your function is in a cut mode, what it's going to do is it's going to be red. See, so it's going to want to cut through the main body of the part. Well, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to change the operation to join. When it joins, it actually physically joins with this body and becomes one. So I'm not working with two separate pieces, I'm working with one giant piece. I'm gonna press OK. Kind of zoom in and kind of inspect and make sure that we got far enough in. Make sure it looks good. Okay, looks great. So now on to the handle. There's two ways that we can do the handle, and I'm going to show you the kind of the separate way. So very similar to this sketch, we could actually mirror the sketches, but what we're going to do is we're actually going to mirror the whole body. So we're going to create a new sketch. I'm going to go onto this base plane. Once again, you're going to want to kind of inset it a little bit. I don't want to switch functions, so we're just going to keep going with this. Inset it just ever so slightly. Okay, so here is a radius. And what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of ignore it, for the lack of better words, so we don't have to draw in an arc if we don't want to. Go in like that. Okay, so you can see that it's one solid shape. I got to put these arcs in, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the arc function. I'm going to go to these corners right here, and I'm going to make these arcs. I'm going to go to the trim function, cut these out. Ta-da! Oh, I forgot an arc. There we go. Trim. Cool. As you can see, it's kind of doing that weird, it's not tangent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this, I'm going to click this line, and it's going to become tangent. I also want it to do it on this side. There we go. Nice. If you do see errors, what they're going to do is they're going to pop up kind of in your bottom right side of the part. Just be aware that if you do have errors, they'll generally pop up so you can kind of see where you went wrong. Some of the errors, like, you're going to kind of work around. So it doesn't really matter, but for the most part, try to pay attention to those errors and try to fix them right away, because if you don't fix them right away, they kind of start compounding. So make sure that you guys fix it as soon as you possibly can. So I'm going to go up to the toolbar, and in the modify bar, and in that modify bar, there's something called a fillet. Fillets are actually like radiuses, and you're putting rounded corners onto things. There's another function in here called chamfer. You can also use that, but fillet is probably the one that you're going to be using the most. Mainly just because rounded edges are probably like, it's more aesthetically pleasing. They don't hurt as many people. So generally you want to do like some rounded edges. So I'm going to click this one, and you can see that it automatically kind of figures out what I want to do with my radius, but I don't want it to really look like that. I want it to look like ever so slightly different. So you can kind of see I made it a little less drastic. And I'm going to, click OK on that. So you can just click enter. I'm going to go back up to my constraints, and I'm going to make sure that that is constrained. Cool. So we're done. That's one with one of the sketches. So we're going to go to the finish sketch button, and we're going to end. Once again, we're going to go to that extrude button. We're going to go to the two-sided, and I'm sorry, we want to go to symmetrical. And you want to make it thick enough that it doesn't look weird, for the lack of better words. So I like this thickness just a little bit more because it's a little bit more substantial, instead of, having it too thin where it just kind of looks a little weird. So I'm going to press oops. Symmetrical. And I'm going to switch it from the cut function to the join. I'm going to join it. Actually, I don't want to join it yet. I want to make it its own body. And the reason why I decided to make it its own body is what you'll see now. So, as you can see, I like the way that it kind of goes into this part. You kind of want to check so you can kind of see that it goes over. So that means that our sketch doesn't go all the way in, and I want it to go in just ever so slightly more. So you're going to go to your sketch down here at the bottom. You're going to double click it, and that means that you're automatically going to be editing it. It brings you back into your sketch mode. So I'm going to pull this ever so slightly this way because I want it to go into the part. I'm going to bring this one down, and I'm also going to do the same with this one and bring this ever so slightly down. I could definitely just make it go straight and then keep that angle, but for the time limit that we're on, we don't have time. So, as you can see, my sketch automatically updated the 3D extrusion that I made. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go to the create button, and I'm going to go down to the mirror. I'm going to select bodies from the pattern type. I'm going to select this one. Shoot. Okay. Sorry. There's one more step that you need to do. You need to go into construct, and you need to make a plane. cancel, sorry. Plane at an angle is what you want to do. So you want to select a line, and you're going to go into your sketches and you're going to select a line that is apart. But you got to turn off the body first, and you got to make sure that the sketch is visible. So I'm going to click it, click OK. There you go. I have a plane right through the center of my part. By turning on and off the visibility, unfortunately you guys can't see it, but there's a little eyeball that's next to the sketches and the bodies, and you can click that to toggle it on and off. So as you can see, you can't see any of the bodies, and I'm going to turn those all back on. So I have a plane. So I'm going to go back to that mirror function in the create. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to, in the pattern, I'm going to select bodies, select this one, and in the mirror plane, I'm going to select this plane that I made. I'm going to press OK. And what it's going to do is it's automatically going to mirror that body to the other side. So say I don't want to do it yet. I'm not happy with that. I'm not happy how it looks, and I need to make this whole because I want this whole to mirror along with it. So very simple. What you're going to do is you're just going to press Control Z. You're going to go back, and what you're going to do is you're going to do a drawing right onto this face. All you have to do is click on the face and it'll automatically orient it so you're drawing in relation to this face. I'm going to press circle, and I'm going to make a circle like this. And I'm going to make another circle ever so slightly smaller in here. Finish the sketch. I'm going to go to Extrude. And instead of extruding outwards like this, I'm going to extrude into the part. And I'm going to cut a hole. So as you can see, cut this little piece. I am going to go up here into the modify, and I'm going to select the chamfer button. I then am going to select around here, and I'm going to add a chamfer, which is just a straight cut. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, a chamfer. That's just a straight cut. I'm sorry, I blanked there. So I can go all the way down and kind of make it look more like a button. I can kind of have it raised ever so slightly. And I think I'm going to have it ever so slightly raised. You can kind of preview it to where you want it to be. This is kind of up to your own creative decisions. You don't necessarily even have to make holes this way. You can make it completely different. You can use the hole function. I just kind of happened to like this one because we also had to make this button in the inside. So I'm going to press OK. I'm going to say like I like it. Looks good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that mirror function, which is in the create. I'm going to click mirror. I'm going to click this. My mirror plane is this. And it's all going to come over, including that little piece. Okay? And so say I actually just want to mirror this piece. So like as you can see, this side doesn't have those, but I want it to be even. So what you can do is you are going to take that mirror function once again, and you are going to go down here and you are going to select the extrude. Oh, sorry, it's still in body. Features. You're going to go to the pattern type. You're going to go down to features. You're going to hit the extrude and the chamfer. on your mirror plane, what you're going to do is you're going to select that plane that goes down the center. And because I want this one as well, I'm also going to select that mirror. Oh, oops. Select the mirror as well. If it will let me. Sometimes it will be a little finicky, so you just kind of have to work with it. Press OK. So, oh no, there's an error. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. You know, just kind of work with it. We'll try it one more time to see if that works. Bodies, faces. You can try it in different ways. Sometimes that helps too. Mirror plane. Yeah, so I did faces and it worked. So I just kind of want to go back to that. And I want to go to objects and I want to select this as well. So that too mirrors over. Ta-da! Okay, one last function that I'm going to teach you guys, and actually I'm going to teach you two more things real quick. So I'm going to turn off this plane because it's driving me crazy. I no longer need my canvas, and as you can see, I have a full part ready to go. But I still have three bodies. I still have this handle half, and this handle, or this like main portion. But I want to join them all together. I don't want them all to be separate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this combine button that's right up here. I'm going to select this piece, and this piece, and I'm going to join them all together. So what it does is it turns it all into one component. Why this matters, sometimes it's a lot easier for 3D printing, and sometimes it's a lot easier for assemblies. You can always undo that function. Remember that it's in this timeline, so if, say you want all three of those separate, you can actually go back and delete that, and so you can keep them all separate. Finally, get ready for 3D printing because I want to 3D print this. So, what I'm going to do is I am going to go up to the file button. You can either go to export or you can do 3D print. So click the 3D print button. And it's going to come up with a small dialog box, and you click your object that you want to 3D print. It will automatically turn it into a mesh that your 3D printing software can understand and put it into an STL. You can change your refinement to low. So as you can see that there's a lot less triangles. You can go to high. So there's a lot more triangles. Or you can go to custom and you can custom do your surfaces and change things. And that one is if you're a lot more advanced. Honestly, the high setting is great. I've never had issues with it, but if you really want that high quality mesh in certain areas, I suggest doing the custom. Finally, you're going to press OK. It's going to pop up with your like navigation window to kind of choose where you're going to save it. So I'm going to save it to my desktop, and I'm going to name it Keyblade. I'm going to save it. So that means it's ready for 3D printing, and all you have to do is put it into your slicing software. So I talked really fast, and unfortunately you couldn't see all of the windows, but hopefully you got the good understanding. And one of my major suggestions is if you're still confused or you're having a hard time, There's a million tutorials out there on YouTube. It is probably one of the most documented software just because it's so popular. So make sure that you go onto YouTube and try to see if you can kind of understand and go through there. Also, Autodesk has a really good help site. So don't be afraid to go to Autodesk's help site. And there's like a little question mark that says help, like right here. So you can click it and you can search what you're looking for. You can go to learning. You can do things like that. Um, Also, if you're still like, I don't trust myself on big projects, I get it. Fusion 360 actually has like whole classes on their website, so make sure you go check those out as well. Um, what else? If you do have any questions and maybe you just kind of want to talk it through with someone, feel free to contact me. I am Unseen Cosplay on pretty much everything on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Hit me up on any of those, as well as I often stream on Twitch, CAD design, and I also do tutoring in 3D design. So if you need help, feel free to shoot me a message and have a good time at Matsuri's online convention 2020. Bye guys. Bye.